Hello everybody and welcome to another Transformers third-party review. I'm finally getting around to reviewing this guy, somebody I've been looking forward to for a very long time. It is, of course, the Keith's Fantasy Club, KINGZILLA and Komodos. Basically, this is their interpretation of a masterpiece style Snapdragon. If you follow my Facebook and Instagram, you'll know that I had a slight issue with this pre-production sample. The arm snapped off. Basically, we get these samples not only to review and showcase to you all to give you an early insight, but we also get to test the tolerances because these are a test shot. And basically the spring which held the arm onto this side panel here, the spring was too strong for the screw. So basically it stripped the screw. We relayed the information back to Keith and he sent out the alternative arm with a different screw and spring, and these are going to be modified for the official release. Right, now that the pleasantries are out of the way, this is a gorgeous version of Snapdragon. I actually prefer this to their Ape-Face. Ape-Face was a really good figure, but this has a cleaner transformation. It has a all-round better appearance, I feel. It's not perfect, but it's definitely as close to a Snapdragon masterpiece as we're gonna get. So we get two of these guns, just a rather nice G1 style weapon with the masterpiece style hand pegs, and can be bent over and also mounted onto his back when he's in dragon mode. We also get two of these flame thrusters, again pretty much what we got with Ape-Face, and we get a nice flight stand. I like the translucent ones because they kind of hide themselves better when you've got them on display. First things first, let's have a look at Komodos. I assume they've called him Komodos because it's like a Komodo dragon, I guess. Don't quote me on that, I could be completely wrong. Good face sculpt, better in my opinion than Ape-Face. Also, when you order this, you will get the alternative faceplate for Ape-Face. I didn't get one with the test shop, but there will be one when you buy the official product. There's the beast face, look, with a nice sharp pointy teeth, and we can just fold the legs down. The transformation is pretty much identical to his G1 Headmaster. He's one of the only G1 Headmasters I actually had as a kid. I never had the weapons, I just had Snapdragon and his head. And there we go, that is awesome. What a gorgeous sculpt in there. The head can rotate, but it's a little bit fiddly, but I mean, that is attention to detail. I mean, he's even got a little visor on there as well. We've got ball jointed shoulders, we've got a pivot on the elbow. Not a huge range on the elbow, but enough definitely for a small little figure. His hands are sculpted into the arms. We've got leg motion going forwards, we've got that bend at the knee. It's an all-round very nice Headmaster. He's quite a back-heavy Headmaster at that, and we even get fold-down heel spurs to counteract any of that weight at the rear. I mean, these two do look awesome together, don't they? I'm not going to be displaying them like this. I'm going to have them in their beast modes. But if you do choose to have your Headmasters separate, I mean, these two look cracking. Right, let's start off with my gripes. I like how he looks. I love these big, huge, chunky, oversized arms, but I don't like the ratchets used in the legs. There's too much of a gap between each set. I mean, you've got this stance here. That is your next stance. I would have preferred something around kind of there-ish just to make it more natural. It's a real gripe of mine not having a natural stance. I mean, he's got really big calves, so this is too close together. I mean, you can't even really turn the thighs to allow for him to get kind of a more natural look. That's me being picky. I mean, we do have ankle pivots, albeit they are extremely stiff on this guy, but they do have ankle pivots, so when we get the outward stance, he's still going to hold a really good balance, but it's just not a very natural look for him. But like I said, that's my personal preference. I know it bugs some people, and some people couldn't give two hoots, but again, this is just something I personally would have changed. Again, we get a working tech spec. This one hasn't been modified yet. I am assuming they'll give the correct speed, strength and intelligence for the final release, but that's just to show you that we do have a working tech spec in there, and we do actually have some details written on the back there. We've actually got a stamp from Keith's Fantasy Club 2017, made in China, which is nice. You don't very often see stamps on third-party products. I do love these breast cannons here. I actually had to take these off. I don't think I've put them on 100% correctly. I need to just kind of push those on a bit more. But I took those off to gain access to this shoulder joint to replace the spring, and everything's held together remarkably well, and it's very well engineered. It kind of boggled me how they could work out a triple changing headmaster, but they managed it. Paint applications are gorgeous. I love this kind of aquamarine green. It's really good. We've got big, thick, chunky, fully articulated KFC hands. One thing they can do remarkably well is the hands. I have the KFC hands for nearly all of my Seekers on order. Really do love those hands. Oh, he's just a good looking figure, isn't he? Coming around to the rear, I've folded this tail fin section into the shaft of the jet. It's totally personal preference. You can actually have this bent down and hang down off the back like you did with the G1 toy if you choose to, but while we've got this section on the back here, I like to kind of house it in there. I think it just looks a lot tidier and kind of finishes him off a bit, kind of gives him a more streamlined backpack, if that's even the thing, even without the ratchet range on those thighs that I'd really like. For a big chunky bot, he's actually pretty dynamic. He has a nice range and you can get him in some pretty nice poses. Now weight wise, he weighs 816 grams. That's 28 ounces or 1.798 pounds, and stands at around 10.5 inches. That's about 27 centimeters from toe to tip of those arms. Let's take a look at his articulation. The head, much like Ape Face, it can just rotate left and right. We don't have any tilt forwards or backwards like we got with the Make Toys versions. The shoulder section, we have this huge ratcheted joint on the side here, so you can adjust the height in which the shoulders sit. You have this tight joint here. We have this butterfly-ish style joint coming out to the side. We have an upper bicep rotation. We have a double jointed bend at the elbow. To get full range of it, you really want to bend the elbow before you bring the bicep upwards. We have a bend at the wrist, and as previously mentioned, we get those fully articulated KFC fingers, which are all different lengths as well, and that's a pet hate of mine. I hate fingers that are all the same length. We get an abdominal crunch, something which all toys should now have, in my opinion. Get a nice ratcheted waist joint coming down to the hip skirts. They can move out of the way front and side, allowing for a nice smooth ratcheted joint to the front, rear and out to the side. There is an upper thigh rotation in there, and we have a hidden joint for the knee, which we bend down within the actual shin section itself, and that gives us just below 90 degrees. The feet can go forwards and backwards, and there is a ratchet pivot on the base. Again, this is a very tight pivot, but it allows for some really nice deep poses, and his stability is incredible. I mean, just look at the size of those heel spurs. And here we have my token ridiculous pose that nobody's ever going to get their Snapdragon in, but he can do it nonetheless. For a quick scale comparison, here he is alongside the MP10 mold. Most people have a version of this mold in their collection, so you know, he is a good size. He is what we've come to expect from the kind of masterpiece style leader class. And because I have him to hand, here he is alongside Fans Toys Sea Spray. Slight difference in scale. Right, I am assuming most of you We'll keep him in his beast mode. I know assumptions are a dangerous thing, but we'll go from robot mode through to jet mode and then into beast mode. He comes packaged in robot mode, but again, my transformation may not be 100% accurate. We don't have any instructions for this piece, so I'm kind of going off previous photos that I've seen and a little bit of guesstimation. So without further ado, let's transform him up. For first port of action, I'm going to remove the head, so we can go head off, and we're going to remove all of his weapons. We're going to fold away the hands. The panels actually flip open on both sides of the fist, which allows us really nice access to rotate these fists around with no clearance issues whatsoever, and we can close those back off. Come around to the back section. You want to just pull the nose cone out. That is on a bending ratchet. You want to ratchet it forwards and at the same time work it backwards, and it's going to go over the front section of the nose cone. And here you can see we have full access to the dashboard section where we can install his batteries for light up function. I'm going to close this piece off, and those are just going to tab together and seal off. And you want to bring this piece up and over, and it's going to tab in at the top, and we can just bring the landing gear downwards. Rotate the waist 180 degrees, and bending those abdominal muscles, you want to just access these pieces at the side here by just tilting his waist, getting your nail under there and bringing those out. You can now close the ab joint back off, and then these are just going to sit down. Work the feet around so that the toe section is in here, and you want to bring this section over so they're both on top. And we can just flip down the landing gear, open up the back section of the leg, flip this tab piece outwards, and then just rotate the leg in on itself, and this is going to slide past the crotch section and then line up with the waist joint. We then have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tabs in between those legs to push and tab those in securely together, holding everything into place. Bring this rocker section down, and that's going to slide in. Now, if you're having trouble getting this piece down, make sure that the hip skirts are within the insides of the legs, otherwise they're going to just get in the way. Now, you've got a tab here and a tab here. You've got to tab those in. These have got to come together. You've got to kind of push these together and then bring these two bits together at the same time. So you've got a tab here, here, and here, and they are all going to tab in lovely jubbly. Now, I'm not 100% sure if this is correct, but I believe we bring the animal arms kind of up and out of the way there. We bring this joint backwards on its rocker joint, and there should be enough clearance there. Yeah, just about. I've done that okay. These are going to rotate around, and as you can see, there's a hole just on the inside of this arm. You want to untab the beast claws, and you want to bring those out on the ball joint that they're on. They're going to flip around, just work that ball joint out, and there's these two holes. They're going to line up with the tabs, and then we just push this piece across. This tabs in, and these can just be lifted up. There we have him in his jet mode. He's a little bit wibbly wobbly. I don't know if I've done that completely correct, but you get the idea. It's a very, very good likeness to his Generation 1 counterpart, isn't it? I mean, that is lovely, isn't it? That's proper Cybertronian spaceship right there. What an amazing look for him. And of course the fun does not stop there. He rolls quite nicely, and we can open up this cockpit section here, and we have a little compartment for him to sit in, and I'm hoping you can see this when we close this piece off. There's a small switch at the side here. We can press that up, and the whole dash system lights up. I like that. That's a really nice touch. I love how they've added these small features, and we can still access the switch from the outside as well. Here he is with his guns mounted underside. You can actually mount the guns above or below on here as well, just using these holes. I personally prefer below, but I know some of you may prefer to have them on top, like that. It's each to their own, and I'm not personally a fan of having the flames because I'm not going to have them in jet mode, but the flames just literally tab in to the back of the thrusters. Right, let's get him from his jet mode into his beast mode. This is where the fun begins. Remove your pilot and make sure that the light is set to off. We can start with the front of the jet because that's going to form the tail. We can just bend that down and bend this section down. Untab the feet and the legs, bring them around. You want to untab your weapons, and using the double pivot, you need to make sure that this top section and the bottom section are facing like so, and you actually have a rotation on either side of this bicep joint so you can square it off. This bottom section here needs to be rotated around so that the fin is at the rear, and we have the knee joint facing forwards. We can then rotate the claw section up and rotate that around. Retract all of the landing gear. They are super stiff, and we can just bring the little beast arms down. I love the attention to detail. You've got these little pistons going on inside there. Untab these sections here and untab this crotch piece, which allows us to gain access to the legs. We can now split those in half, and folding this piece out, we can unfold the neck joint, and with them up at this angle, we can then start tabbing those together, bring these pieces back in, and start re-tabbing in all of the chest tab sections. You can re-tab this piece here in, but I like to push these into the side, and you just want to just make sure you've got some of that ab crunch working. We can then attach his headmaster and also attach the guns onto the feet sections at the back, and there we have KINGZILLA in all of his glory. I love it. That is nigh on, spot on to his Generation 1 counterpart, and he's so well balanced as well. It's lovely, it really is. He's got all of this of the base of his feet. You've got pivoting motion there, you've got the bends at the knee, you can come out to the side, we can go forwards and backwards. We've got these extra bends on the tail, both at the top and at the base. The neck, we can rotate the head, we can move the neck up and down. We've got ball mounted little tiny Godzilla-ish style arms, and we've got these little bendy bits on the hands, and I don't very often, well, that's a lie, I always get excited at toys, but this is kind of what I expect from third parties when I want a headmaster figure. You can kind of get him in this running pose sort of thing. It's a matter of playing around with it, and don't forget this is a pre-production sample, so chances are the tolerances may be tweaked somewhat for the final piece, but in my book this is an incredibly accurate version of Snapdragon. And here he is alongside his comrade in arms, Apeface. They do look remarkably good together. KFC continue to improve and improve and improve. I mean, I've got a love for the KFC and X-Transbots like our friend Bobby Skullface does for the fans toys. I mean, I am in awe of some of the pieces that these guys are bringing out now, and the quality just seems to keep improving. And if there is a fault, say like people had fault with some of their Blitzwing toys, Keith listens and he sends out the replacement parts. You don't always have to wait for another figure to come out for you to get those damaged parts, or parts that were mistransformed, or parts that should have been there that weren't included. You generally get them sent out, and I think that's what's really improved with the KFC and X-Transbot brands, is their aftercare and communication process. I'll just bring in our dynamic duo again for a scale comparison. Apologies that I don't have more figures to show at the moment. I'm getting all my stuff packed up for TF Nation, which I'm going away in a couple of days, so I don't have a great deal of stuff to hand. And apologies for the noise in the background. It is absolutely hammering it down. I'm reviewing in the middle of a storm with the thunder and lightning, and yeah, the elements are against me, but I am determined to get these reviews finished. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Keith's Fantasy Club KINGZILLA and Komodos. They're both dragons. They are, of course, Snapdragon, and they look fantastic. Thanks again to Keith for giving me the chance to have a look at this figure and play around and, of course, test those tolerances. Do not worry yourselves over the arms. These will be fixed. Other than that, I mean, he is a glorious figure. I don't very often use the word glorious these days, but Snapdragon does indeed tick that glorious box. Until next time, from myself and Snapdragon, thanks for watching. Goodbye.